So when you get your skirt pieces, you've got two big pieces cut like this. So what you're going to do is take one of the big pieces and fold it in half and cut it right down the centre like that. So you've got two smaller pieces like that, and then you've got one large piece like that, okay? So with the two smaller pieces, what you need to do is to just take them to the iron and fold over 1/4 of an inch the whole way down one side, and then fold it down again so that you've got a 1/2 inch folded over edge for your hem. Do exactly the same with the bottom, so 1/4 of an inch and then fold over 1/2 inch. With the other side of it, you need to make sure that it's on the other side, so you don't want to put it down here. Okay, so when you're laying it together, you don't want both edges to be down here. You want one on this side like that and one on that side like that. And then do exactly the same with the bottom. And we're just going to run a hem all the way across the bottom like that, and you're going to just put them together just like that there and stitch them down, okay? So just put them together like that at the moment, because we're going to work on getting them now so that we can put our French seams in down the side. So if this is your side like that, the piece which you want to join is here. So when you put them together, your two pieces, you want them to be joined together just like this, okay? And then we're going to come in and we're going to put this one on top like that, and we're going to lay that one on that way round, so he's up like that, okay? So you'll have both pieces and they will be just like that, and you're going to pin them all the way down that side there and all the way down this side here, okay? So we should just go and do that. So I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to stitch at 1/4 inch, and it's about here on this foot. You can use 1/4 inch foot if you want, it's not a problem. And can you see I've just pushed that ironed bit down just on the bottom there. So it's just going to come in very slowly now. Do back stitch and then go all the way to the top. If you can get your hand here, okay, that's much better, but it mucks up the filming if you put your hand there, so I'm just trying to do it from down here. Got reasonably good at keeping it straight with having my hand like that. Take that bit out and then do the last one. Okay, and I did a back stitch there. Take that out, and then we'll do the other side. And you always want to be keeping most of your bulk of your fabric on this side if you can. So I'm just placing it where my 1/4 of an inch is. There. A bit. Do a back stitch. Do notice it coming apart a bit. Can we just move it, wiggle it a little bit so that those two seams are touching, two edges are touching. Okay, so take that off, and then you can either take this back to the table or you can do it here. Oh, I've got a big bit of cotton hanging there. And you just come across and just trim this back to 1/8 of an inch. Do it carefully, you don't want to come too close to those stitches because you need them to hold in place. Okay. Okay, do exactly the same on the other side. I'll just take it to the iron and give it a little quick press so that it's laying open. And we just want to make sure that it's sort of like sitting okay. Ironing is one of the main things which you really need to do when you're stitching. You really need to get that ironing correct. Cutting and ironing, if you can get that done, the actual stitching part of it is not too difficult at all. It's those fiddly bits like the ironing, like the cutting, that is the difficult bits. Oops, go off that. Okay, so take that to the iron now, and we're going to press that open. So we're now going to come in again and do this at 1/4 inch again all the way down. And make sure that you've got your wrong side of the fabric, should be on the top and on the bottom for your French seam. Move that fabric up there a little bit. Get that in place. Then do a back stitch. Okay, lift that one. There, and then do exactly the same on the other side. Get that laid nicely. Back stitch. Okay. And just check that that's definitely laying. Okay, that's better. Go over again now, just check when we come out. So that's my 1/4 inch all the way along. Apart from that bit, let me just go back. Check that off. Where was it? Here, just here. I'm just gonna come along there. And that was 1/4 inch, and that just went in. There we go. And I'll just do a back stitch. That should hold that in place. Okay. Right, once you've done that, we're going to do the hem. So start here. We're going to come right down the side here. You want it as close to the edge as you can get it. So I'm going to pop it there, and we're going to put it nice and close to that edge. I'm just going to do a completely straight stitch all the way around the bottom of the side, all the way down the side and all around the bottom. Back stitch. And I think I could just move in a tiny bit. That's better. Sorry, just move that one in just a tiny bit, that's better. It's quite hard because I've got a lot of fabric here and the camera is in the way, and right, let's carry on. When you get to this bottom, I want this side piece to come over the top like that, alright? So make sure you fold that bottom in and tuck that side piece in before you get to it. And I'll just come and put my needle in down position. Okay, turn it, and then we'll go all the way along the bottom. Okay. Went a bit uphill there, I might have to look at that. When you get to that seam as well, your French seam, you want to make sure that it's facing that way on this side and the other way on the other side. It is much easier if you've got 2 hands and you can do it with both hands. So can you see that I've got the French seam here? I want to make sure that it's facing the back of my skirt, so it'll be that way, alright? Fold that in over. You are going to have a little bit of a lump here when you come to this piece. There we go. Okay, so that's lump. Straighten it out again. If you want to pin this, feel free to pin it. You might want to do that as well. You might find it helpful if you want to pin it. It is just very straight, and it is sort of held down by this where it's been pressed, so it's not so bad. I've got my arm through the machine. I wouldn't recommend doing it like that. I'm just doing that because of filming. It is much better if you can have your hand here like that. This helps for just filming. When you put your hand anywhere on where the camera is, it just shows up and makes everything else look blurry. Sort of zooms in on your hand. Come into this other French seam, and we want this one to come towards the back this way, so it's going the opposite way to what the other one did. So just push it back, make sure that's laying, because it always wants to sort of pull out of there. Okay, so keep that laying nice and flat, and hold it, and then you can just go through slowly. It'll take a little bit longer to go through that bit. You might need to give it a little bit of a nudge just to help it through. Again, with the end piece, I want the side seam to come over the top, so I'm just folding. I don't know if you probably can't see that there. I'm just folding it so that that is on the top, that side seam. Okay, and I want that one to sit on the bottom. It just looks a little bit neater that way than the other way. Push that through. Push that down. Like that there. Turn that and then come up this way, and then when I finish this hem, when you do it yours, it's going to be much neater because you're going to be able to keep your needle straight from having your hand down the side. Keep your fabric straight by having your hand holding it nicely. There we go. Put a back stitch in. Okay. And the last thing we're going to do on this piece of skirt is put in the gathering. Okay, so for our gathering, what we are going to do, make sure you've got plenty of spool in there, stretch out a nice long end. Okay, make sure there's plenty of thread on your machine there. You don't want to be running out of thread halfway through. Just going to get rid of a couple of stitches here a minute. Okay. So we now need to change our stitch, and on mine it's just here, and I'm going to change the biggest stitch I've got, and mine is a 7, but I don't know, whatever you might have, change it to your largest stitch, which is your gathering stitch. Okay, let's put that like that. Let's just, is that any better? That's a little bit better. And I'm also going to not put a back stitch in it. No back stitches for gathering. This one, my French seam, I want it to go that way. Okay. So you can check what it's like on the bottom, which way it's going, to make sure that it's going the right direction for you. Okay. This goes very quickly, so you can just take your time. Or you can go fast if you know that you can keep it straight. If you put your hand here, you probably will be able to keep it reasonably straight. Okay. one, I want this one to come towards the back. Okay. Basically, you want the two seams to go towards the outside, the nearest outside edge. Straight off the end. Right, just before I do anything, I'm going to get rid of that end there. I didn't realise, I thought I'd got that rid of that one. I don't want that getting mixed up with my gathering end there. Pull this one out. What's this? That's something else entirely. Do that as well. Right, okay, it's just an end on the fabric. Give that one a nice long end and then cut that one off. And then do exactly the same again, but this time we're just going to change the position of the foot. Now you can either change to a 1/4 inch foot, or you can put that one on exactly as it was before, lift your needle like that, and then change your needle position. This is what changes my needle position. Can you see both of them moving? So I'm going to change my needle just so it's further up this end. Okay. And I'm going to come along with my foot. You need to have two lines of gathering. You get a much more even gather stitch. And also, if you're pulling with 2 threads rather than 1, you've got less likelihood of your thread snapping. There's nothing more annoying than getting into the middle and finding your thread snapped. And you have to go back and start again. What you can always do if that happens is pull a long thread that side and pull a long thread that side and tie them together. I've done that in the past. Especially if you've been making something which is like yards and yards of fabric and it takes forever to stitch, then you don't particularly want it all breaking. Don't put a back stitch in, just leave a nice long thread like that, and then we will take it to the table and we will gather it. Just grab your seam ripper and just lift those 2 threads. I always have a job with these threads getting tangled up, so I usually just grab my seam ripper and put it in the top one and then pull that one out. Alright, so you've got those 2 like that, and then you can just pull along. And you're just going to need to go along like this and pull the whole thing along until you've got the whole skirt gathered to the same size as your top, okay? So I think it needs to be, I think it's something like it's, the 4-year-old is, this piece at the back here on this side needs to be 4.5. The 3-year-old I think is 3.5, 2-year-old's 2.5, 1-year-old's 1.5, the piece on with the piece on the back, okay? And then you go from that, and then so it's all like whatever it is. So if it's 8, it's 8.5, okay? Like that. So you just go from that there. So just gather that up, and then once you've done that all the way along, we will come back and we will show you the next bit. So that is going to be our little skirt finished, okay? So now we are going to be working on putting our waistband on and are attaching the skirt of our apron, as well as attaching the ties to the back. So what I've done is I've got my 2 pieces of waistband. When I cut mine out, I've cut them out wrong. So I'm just going to go with the flow of it. But when you do it, you want to get both your pieces facing so that they are facing the right way. So I've got this one, this will be the correct way for this one. But the one on the back is like that way round, so it's the wrong way round. But I'm not too worried, I'm just going to put it on the back and you won't actually see it. But you need them both to be facing the correct way. This one should go on like that rather than like that, but I'm not too worried about that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is cut a piece of interfacing to go onto the back of the back piece, all right, at I9 interfacing, and I'm going to cut 2 pieces of interfacing to go onto my ties. Okay, so you have the pattern for that, so go away, do that, and then iron them on according to the instructions on your interfacing, and put that up to one side all ready to go. Okay, so got all that done, and now I'm just going to come along, I'm just going to trim these edges so that they're absolutely straight sitting along here, like that. Okay, you won't see any of that because it comes up 3/8 of an inch, so all of that will be gone underneath there. Do exactly the same here, just cut a nice straight piece off there. There we are. Alright, and that would, as I say, will be all underneath. So you want to take your piece for the front and you want to make sure that when you lay it down, it's upside down, so that when you turn it over, it'll be like that. Okay, find the centre of that piece, find the centre of that piece, and I'm just going to finger mark that there so I can see my little mark there. Finger mark that one, pop that one on top. There we go, and then grab a pin, pop that in there, and then we're just going to pin this right the way along. Make sure it's absolutely straight, okay? We don't want a wonky waistband. There we go, okay. Piece to go on so that it's facing that way as well, touching, so that they're exactly in lined up. So can you see that? That's exactly lined up there with the bottom of that. You can measure that and make sure that's in the centre. There we go, that is correct. So I'm going to put those 2 pieces together. So you want like a sandwich. So put that down a tiny bit there, that's it. Sandwich those 2 pieces together and come right along. You can come right to the end, but make sure you pin this piece here well in, because we don't want that moving when we get there, because it is a bit of a bulky bit there. So I want a nice pin in that one, and a nice pin in this piece here as well, where that lumpy bit is. That's going, when that goes through the sewing machine, it'll probably make a bit of a bumpity noise because it isn't going to want to go through that. And as I say, you can come and trim that off once you've done it, because that is obviously just where your piece of ruffle is coming down. So even though we cut it, we didn't actually cut it quite straight. So let's just make sure those 2 edges are touching. There we go, pin that one down. Take that one out and pin all through all of the layers, because you've got a layer, 2 layers of interfacing, the one on your embroidery and the one on your back of your waistband. That's quite a thick layer going through. Let's just make sure that that's absolutely straight. There, coming along to the end. That's better. Don't pull it, you want it to lay exactly the same place as the other piece, but you also want it to be straight. It's very important that this piece is straight. Okay, so we're just going to take this now to the sewing machine and do so we're just going to take this to the sewing machine now and do a row of stitches all the way along, starting with the back stitch and finishing with the back stitch.